Hey, what's good, self-direct investors? I hope you're all doing great, and I want to welcome you back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jordan, and today we're coming at you with this week in cannabis news from March 11th to the 17th. Now, before we jump in, if you enjoy this video or you learn something, please just leave a like on it as it really helps out my channel. If you want to take advantage of this generational investment opportunity, subscribe below so that you don't miss any future videos. Then there's plenty of content for you to go back, rewatch, and educate yourself with. Try to think of these videos as a time capsule. I've tried to put all the news and facts in one place so that you can watch episodes over time to learn about the evolution of the U.S. cannabis industry and take advantage whenever you feel ready if you wish to do so. And as always, this is not advice. Plan accordingly for your own situation, ladies and gentlemen, but things have never looked better after we got this nice surprise to end the week after starting off with another Wall Street Journal hit piece, more propaganda crap to possibly bring the prices down. And if there was ever a better time to buy before, say, August 30th, when HHS confirmed that the science behind cannabis is valid, the next best time would have likely been this past week if you hadn't already. But with that, the clip that we've all been waiting for from the VP Cannabis Roundtable. Thank you, Jungle Java, for sharing this. Very important. And while we weren't necessarily expecting this outright, hey, take it away.
Human Services and the Department of Justice to reassess how marijuana is classified under the federal drug schedule.
So nice to see this followed up after the State of the Union last week, and Fat Joe leaning back as always.
And I cannot emphasize enough that they need to get to it as quickly as possible, and we need to have a resolution based on their findings and their assessment. But this issue is stark when one considers the fact that on the schedule currently, marijuana is considered as dangerous as heroin. Marijuana is considered as dangerous as heroin and more dangerous than fentanyl, which is absurd, not to mention patently unfair. So I'm sure DA is working as quickly as possible and will continue to do so, and we look forward to the product of their work.
Well, thank you for playing your role well this time, Kamala, and so some comments down here for anyone that's interested. Hey, we were not expecting that, but phenomenal coverage as well. Thank you, Toby Cannabis, for sharing this. VP's Cannabis Update is seeing strong press coverage on AP, ABC, CNBC, NBC, CNN, NPR, Reuters, Washington Post. The Dems need to run with this, and they're going for the young vote. Fuck, exactly what the administration wanted. And so with that, from Dougie Kass, back in action. This was interesting because this came on Friday, very early on Friday, but we have learned yesterday that the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration will shortly approve a rescheduling of cannabis to Schedule 3. Now, again, take this with a grain of salt. I'd love to know who his source is. And that the biggest legal hurdle, an international treaty, this damn treaty I always talk about that we need to get rid of and abolish, to which the U.S. is a signatory, has been resolved favorably. So take from that what you will. Again, just sharing what came out this past week by means of background. And again, Dougie Kass, a well-known hedge fund manager, so more reputable than others. The same sources informed us several days before the announcement in late August from HHS. And so take from that what you will. He's back in bullish, as I did highlight in my last week's video, but obviously he doubled down this past week, and we love to see that. And what was interesting is when Dougie did end up sharing this, say Dougie like I know him, it's just a funny name, when you add the IE at the end. But so March 14th, I started seeing some things about the UN and something that could be related to that 1961 drug convention. UN Commission on Narcotic Drugs holds high-level session. Resolutions under consideration by the Commission address topics related to improving the accessibility and availability of controlled substances for medical and scientific purposes. And so this was actually one of many things from the UN I saw this past week, and so just wanted to share. There's more down here. If you're interested in pausing to read to go through it. Otherwise, of course, as always, links are in the comments. But interestingly enough, there was this one from connoisseurs.io, a joint statement at the UN Drug Policy Summit led by Colombia on behalf of most of Europe, the US, so that whole thing being resolved favorably, Mexico, Canada, and 60 countries in total challenges the war on drugs status quo. And so this doc will be in the comments as well. Ultimately, it's just a statement, nothing that's been done yet, so I'm just going to leave this as it is. But interesting if you wanted to go through that, because it does seem like things are being coordinated to happen some point soon, hopefully, shortly seems to be the new word. But from Colin Farian, found this too and just wanted to share it because this did relate to just sort of Monday and the dip from the hit piece. Context: Canna stocks dipped on a rumor of Wall Street Journal of secondhand sources to DEA disputing HHS's scientific findings. And the article is more of just saying a few individuals, it sounds like, in the DEA don't agree. But it's like, okay, well, are they going to follow the science, or are those quacks going to, keep sticking to their political science? Chances are the agency is going to follow the science. Seems unlikely. Essentially highlighting, DEA says the agency must respect, not challenge, established medical scientific consensus, aligning with HHS recommendation of Schedule 3. So if we didn't have confirmation enough by now that Schedule 3 is likely coming, highlighting it's not about what the DEA wants, it's ultimately following the science that the HHS actually determined for the first time. Should have been determined in 2016, the last time the DEA said no to rescheduling, but hey, better late than never. And so our favorite source, Don Murphy, is back with more good news. And this came out on Thursday. So HHS SecBecerra tells me, knock on their door. He can't say when, but Schedule 3 appears to be baked in. And so, Don, take it away.
Afternoon, Twitter friends. Don Murphy from the steps of the Russell Building. Spent 3 hours in the Finance Committee just to say thank you to HHS Secretary Becerra for the recommendation to move cannabis from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3.
Thank you, Don. That's a big thank you from all of us, too.
No news is good news when it comes to that hearing for the most part. Democrats ask no questions, Republicans ask one. You can read all about that in Marijuana Moment. I'll link that below. But more importantly, it appears as if everyone's sort of dialed in. It's baked into the cake that it's going to happen. And I don't see any pushback from either side at this point. So that was great news. More great news, had a nice long chat with the sponsor of safe banking in the Senate. He's feeling pretty good about its prospects in the near term. So anyway, big day tomorrow at the White House as well. We'll report back when we see how that turns out.
Thank you, Don. As always, links will be in the comments if you wanted to go through anything related to that. But to recap, we got 1, Doug Kass's Schedule 3 is coming shortly. 2, Cory Booker hints that April 15 is warm. Where has that man been? He's just disappeared. 3, Kamala Harris's Schedule 3 is absurd and asks the DEA to move ASAP on rescheduling. We could add 4, Don Murphy gets the nod from Sherrod Brown that SAFE has a chance. And on top of that, from Politico, taxes cannabis banking drug prices. This came out on the 12th, which I believe was Tuesday. And in here, this little clip, we can do cannabis banking. We can do the rail bill, said Sherrod Brown, one of the party's most vulnerable senators facing voters this fall. He needs a win. He needs to get reelected, hence why he'll likely do what needs to be done, confirming what Don said too. So that's always nice to hear. I did find the sound bites as well. So this one from Cory Booker on DEA rescheduling. I love the start of this because that's just how I imagine Cory Booker would be. Someone go up to him, hey, can you stop bothering people, please?
Can you stop bothering the students? Students, they're fellow colleagues within the United States. Ooh, I like the way you think. So if the DA reschedules cannabis, do we even need this Safer Banking Act?
I think there's a lot of elements in the Safer Banking Act, like helping with access to capital, for example.
Yeah.
That's really important, yeah.
No shit.
Have you heard anything about DA, the administration moving?
I have heard a lot about it.
I've heard rumors that it might be April 15th. You heard that?
I do not want to comment on that.
Ooh, I'm warm.
Yeah, so that even say 420. Right? I'm going,
But I believe 420 is a Saturday this year. That's why it has to come before. So, and with that, from Blumenauer on rumors, DEA plans to reschedule cannabis.
You know what a birdie told me? That the DA might reschedule April 15th. Have you heard that? I think it should be April 20th. I was wondering why the date was off. Have you heard that? There are lots of rumors. Lots of rumors. But you're thinking it's way past the 18th? Thank you, sir.
Well, so take from that what you will. When did this come out, actually? March 8th. So this would have been from last week. So if anything, those rumors are possibly confirmed that we're getting something. When was this one with Booker from? The 15th on Friday. So thank you, Matt Laszlo, for getting those. Well, I wanted to share this one from Alfredo Pasquale, I apologize if I butchered that, but my favorite Germany source. It looks like the vote on the German cannabis law, Pillar 1, in the Bundesrat next week, March 22nd, will be closely contested. So take from that what you will, but all eyes will be on that. And hey, based on all the writing on the wall, we know which direction that ought to go in. And so with that, some cannabis sales figures from states. Connoisseurs.io sharing Michigan 2022 and 2023 cannabis sales by month, quarter, and year. So the source is Michigan Cannabis Regulatory Agency. Total cannabis sales 2023 obviously peaked past $3 billion, up 33.28% from 2022. I don't even know how that happens, but we love to see it. Sales by quarter two here, if you want to check it out in a closer view. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them just because there's plenty, but I'll leave you at this one. Feel free to grab the links in the comments, but I don't believe it has anything from 2024 yet. And so with that, from Illinois, updated as of March 14th. They used to do this on like the 4th or 5th of the month. It's gotten pushed back so far, unfortunately. But with that, adult use sales figures for February, and which was nice to see is that February sales actually were more than January, because typically after a January slump, we see a February slump, and then a big gain in March. And so love to see that. If anything, that's because more stores are finally being opened, loosening the bottleneck. And with over about 800,000 more items sold in February than Jan, and if you compare that to last year, February had less items. And so, again, love to see that up, and hopefully more stores are opening. This is a sign, just wanted to share this as I found this on the way to pulling the data, but loan applications now available for licensed social equity cannabis dispensaries. Lots of free money to be given out to people that want to apply. Deadline is Wednesday, April 17th. And so with that, from Greenway Magazine, update on Missouri as cannabis dispensaries bring in more than 113 mil in February sales. This came out on Wednesday, I believe. So in February 2024, rec cannabis sales reached 98.3 million, up nearly 3.5 million from January at 94.8 million. Total sales for Feb reached 113.4 million, including med, with an increase 3.28% over prior month, with the state seeing 100 plus million in legal cannabis sales for the 13th consecutive month. So you love to see it. More here if you wanted to pause to read. Well, this was just another look at some Missouri data from Weed Street 420. Total legal cannabis sales in Missouri in 2023 reached nearly 1.34 billion in its first year alone. Previously, Illinois was the only state to see total legal cannabis sales top 1 billion in the first year. And so, of course, we see another state blow that out of the water. I can't wait to see what Florida does, how quickly they reach 1 billion with adult use. But more information here just about the Missouri market if you're interested. Obviously, though, love to highlight it's heading in the right direction. While from connoisseurs.io, Connecticut cannabis retail sales up to February 2024. Source CT Health and Human Services. I've got a few images. This one mostly looking at 2023 sales in total, how they climbed, and then stacked column chart Connecticut total sales up until 2024, I guess. But main thing we want to look at, February did dip down after January, much like we saw in Illinois a few years back when they didn't have enough stores. That's Connecticut's problem too. They need to open a lot more outlets. But essentially, we can expect March to jump back by quite a bit, and I'm sure it will. For marijuana moment, Massachusetts cannabis sales passed 7 billion mark as prices hit record low. Similar situation to Michigan in a way, where prices are low for consumers, which is great. At the same time, sales are soaring. This milestone includes 5.81 billion in rec purchases since adult use in 2018, and then 1.24 billion in med receipts over the same time period. And interestingly enough, the price of cannabis in Massachusetts, meanwhile, continues to fall from a high of nearly 15 per gram of flower when stores first opened to almost 5 per gram this year. And so market is working, but continues to grow. Interestingly enough, anyone in Massachusetts, if you've got some input or want to add, feel free to let me know in the comments. And I think there might be a bit more down here, looking at the price per gram over time in Massachusetts. Well, from Forbes, we got Washington State to eliminate an insane tax that they're putting on medical patients just because they choose to use flower instead of pills. Unbelievable. That's abuse right there. So mainly, the bill was introduced to eliminate excise taxes on medical cannabis products, offering relief to the patients. The bill, initially introduced in 2023, has successfully passed both the House and Senate. And ultimately, you got to scroll down to the bottom to highlight that the bill now awaits final signature by Governor Jay Inslee to become law. It's slated to take effect 90 days after the current legislation session concludes. So sign the damn freaking bill already to help the patients that desperately need it in your state. And it seems like they'll be exempt until June 30th, 2029. With that, from connoisseurs.io, Florida Office of Medical Cannabis use for this past month, March 8th to the 14th. Looking at market share leaders, THC market share, CBD market share, and then qualified patient count up to 876,716. Doesn't look like this has moved much in the last little while, but let's go through the visuals just so that you can check them out and don't need to grab the links. Flower sales by ounce by company this past week. Pause to read. Total THC sales milligrams by company this past week. Total CBD sales in milligrams by company this past week. And then total dispensing locations by company this past week. And I will include the raw data to the Florida OMMU in the comments as well. While we got some studies to look at cannabis and cannabinoids in adults with cancer, ASCO guideline. This one as of March 13th, 2024. The purpose to guide clinicians, adults with cancer, caregivers, researchers, and oncology institutions on the medical use of cannabis and cannabinoids. Most importantly, I think the focus was on how they can use cannabis along with existing cancer treatments. And so the results, pause to read if you're interested, but recommendations. Cannabis and or cannabinoids may improve refractory, chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting when added to guideline concordant antiemetic regimens. Whether cannabis and or cannabinoids can improve other supportive care outcomes remains uncertain because it's stuck in the Schedule 1, so we haven't been able to do the real studies. And this guideline also highlights the need for more research, hence what we've all been waiting for, 50 years overdue. But link in the comments if you want to go through that. Well, from JHSMR, therapeutic effects of cannabinoids on ulcerative colitis. Review and meta-analysis of existing randomly controlled trials, but all of the signs point to cannabis being medicine, as cannabinoids show potential in improving disease activity and quality of life in patients. However, their impact in endoscopic and indices and CRP levels remain inconclusive, mainly because we haven't been able to do the research we want. So more, pause to read if you'd like, otherwise link is in the comments. This one from PubMed as of March 7th. Patient-reported outcomes in chronic diseases under treatment with cannabis medicines. Analysis of the results of the Copeia survey. And while many will say, oh, well, you can't trust patient reports and anecdotal evidence or, person's experience in objective studies like this. Well, how objective are these studies really? And ultimately, at this point, aren't you tired of experts spewing bullshit and trying to tell you what they want you to believe, as opposed to being able to connect with genuine people who can provide advice based on what's worked for them, and you can consider whether that works or doesn't work for you? And so this looked at people in Germany under cannabis medicinal product therapy, looking at many things: symptoms, symptom changes, indications, side effects, dosages, and cost barriers. Of 1,582 participants, 1,030 data sets, 65% could be completely analyzed. And of that, the frequency distribution of symptoms showed a homogeneous pattern for the respective indications, in which the most frequent 6, pain, sleep disturbance, stress tension, inner restlessness, depressive mood, and muscle tension, seem to have a special significance. According to subjective assessment, quality of life improved significantly in 84% of all participating patients. And that isn't a measly 50 or 60%. And imagine if 1,328 of 1,582, that's 84%, say that cannabis significantly improved their quality of life. Or you're just going to dismiss that? You're not going to talk about that at all? I mean, that's pretty significant. Hence why we should have descheduled decades ago. And so full link in the comments. The last one, cannabinoids induce cell death in leukemic cells through parthenomatous and PARP-related metabolic disruptions, from British Journal of Cancer. Very technical one from March 9th, and so forgive me if I butcher this one, but looks like a CNB derivative Win55 was evaluated to see if it can shrink cancer cells in vitro, ex vivo, and in vivo. And I forget off the top of mind exactly what each of those mean, but seems like this extract from CNB exerts an anti-leukemic effect through, sounds like a Marvel bad guy, leading to translocation of AIF to the nucleus and depletion of N80+, which are reversed through PARP1 inhibition. It also induces metabolic disruptions. These effects are not observed in normal HSC. Now, I'm not exactly sure what that refers to. In normal hematopoietic stem cells. Anyways, if you know more about this, or you can fill us in, because I'm not, the most well-versed in science, please let us know in the comments. But hey, it sounds positive, and again, more reason why Schedule 3 is coming. And so with that, another one, cannabis's impact on psychological health is less negative than previously thought, study suggests. Well, we'll take that. From March 10th, 2024, recent twin study found limited evidence of a direct causal relationship between moderate cannabis use and most negative psychological outcomes, suggesting that shared genetic and environmental factors largely explain these associations. However, it identified modest yet significant effects of cannabis use on specific areas, including illicit drug use, so they say. And sounds like they're pushing the gateway drug theory here and using cannabis as that possible scapegoat, but I wonder if they included alcohol at all. And if you were to look at somebody that uses alcohol and cannabis, did they start with alcohol first and then move to cannabis, or did they start with cannabis first and then move to alcohol, which is probably less likely? While there are new findings that cannabis is a gateway drug from harder substances like heroin and sometimes alcohol. And so these findings have been published in Journal of Psychopathology and Clinical Science. And so this is that study, limited psychological and social effects of lifetime cannabis use frequency. So that's the promising findings, I would say, for the most part. It is from 2024. Don't see exactly which month, but main thing to highlight, the results are here if you wanted to pause to read. But there is this statement down here, impact statement. Essentially, just to summarize it, the notable exceptions are cannabis use disorder, tobacco frequency, and then, so they say, illicit drug use, for which lifetime cannabis frequency causes small increases. But the main takeaway is that it doesn't have that negative effect on the human body over a lifetime of use as we thought it would. So fascinating. More reason to want to learn about the endocannabinoid system that exists in all of us, that most of us don't have no idea of, that doctors spend maybe 4 hours in med school of. Seems to be important in biology, though. Well, last one from normal analysis. Cannabis sales not associated with increased use among adolescents. From March 14th, out of Reno, Nevada, researchers compared trends in cannabis use among middle school students in Nevada and New Mexico. During the study period, Nevada permitted retail sales of medical cannabis products, while New Mexico did not. They reported no immediate change in lifetime or past 30-day use among middle school-aged adolescents in Nevada compared to New Mexico. Rather, use trends in both states followed similar trajectories. Adult use sales were not associated with an increase in lifetime or P3OD past 30-day cannabis use. Read it and weep. Love to see it. And so on to MSO news as earnings season continues. And just before we get into this, I wanted to share some buys this past week because I could not help myself. I think last Friday I sent some money in and it did land Monday morning. And so as you can see, I bought a bunch more air at $2.46 just because the price was so low. I wanted to get my average price down to $3. Only got it down to $3.11, and I'm happy with that, plus the warrants. I could always sell those and flip them, but I might as well just hold. I think that's a very cheap place to get air, and I'm very content. Thing is with Cannabist, I know it's a high risk, high reward, but likely with 280E gone, it's going to make the world of a difference, and hopefully this will be my first 20 bagger, possibly, given its all-time highs previously. Wanted to get below 50 cents, and I did. So, Air Wellness reports fourth quarter and full year 2023 results. Full year revenue up 10% to $463.6 million. So, good to see them getting that up. Now, are they keeping more profit? That's the hard part. With 280 gone, they will be able to do that. And so, full link in the comments if you wanted to go through that, but just wanted to highlight that their market cap, and this is in Canadian dollars, so not even US dollars. This is, of course, 30% higher. So, 210 million Canadian dollars. So sub 200 million USD, their market cap for the whole company. If you wanted to buy it outright, obviously they wouldn't sell for that. And they did 463.6 million in revenue. And so when 280 is gone, it's going to make a world of difference. Of course, their gross profit for the full year, what was it? 202 million USD gross profit for the full year. More than their existing market cap as of close on Friday. And so fascinating stuff. Thank you, Cannavestments, for doing this for us. Mixed close to 2023 for Air Wellness with revenue margins in line, but also higher OPEX that kept cash flow negative while adjusting for unpaid taxes. And of course, this can happen, but doesn't mean the company's going to go to business. Ideally, they just have to be able to turn the profit, and the biggest driver of that will be the removal of 280E. With most debt now extended to 26, capitalizing on adult use opportunities ahead is key to inflect towards sustained profitability. And so, pause to read if you're interested. While moving on to Cresco Labs, reports fourth quarter and full year 2023 financial results, demonstrating significant profitability and cash flow improvements. This is still my largest bag. I put $50K into them, and it's not even worth $10K yet, but I'm sure I'll make all that money back and then some. Main thing, though, fourth quarter net income of $5 million. So good to see them actually produce an operating income. And so here, pause to read if you're interested in the highlights, but main thing, to point out that they full year brought in $771 million revenue. While their current market cap, this is again Canadian dollars, so that revenue is in USD, probably close to that. Now again, revenue doesn't mean shit if you're not profitable and if you're not cutting costs and other expenses are going down, but the goal is to get there. So all I can say is I'm very happy with this quarter, especially certain companies, and it really does set them up for hopefully next quarter and then a following quarter with 280 gone. Wouldn't that be nice? And so just wanted to share from Cannavestments another quarter of improvement from Cresco Labs to close out 2023 with efficiency gains and cost reductions offsetting muted growth to improve underlying cash flow and profitability. Management guides to more of the same for most of 2024 before growth returns with the onset of adult use sales in Ohio, Florida, PA. That's going to be big for Cresco, and so they're going to probably be in the same spot that they are revenue-wise until these turn on. And so hopefully they can just continue producing that cash flow, and all links will be in the comments. Now, got this one from the Cannabis Company, reports fourth quarter and full year 2023 results, and this is why I couldn't help myself. Imagine this, full year $511 million in revenue, gross profit of $179 million. Now I know income loss $105, but when you look at their market cap right now, it's so cheap. This is 151 Canadian dollars, so probably like 120 USD for their market cap. They did 179 in gross profit. Now, obviously, they need someone that can come in, or a team that can come in and turn the ship around, because previous management just seems to have become disinterested and doesn't really give a shit anymore. But more information here. Now, for whatever reason, I did not get, or Cannavestments did not provide an update on Columbia Care, and so I'm sure he's busy and maybe he plans to do it, but more here if you wanted to pause to read. I'll take you through this one just because we don't have the breakdown from him. And so top 5 markets by revenue and adjusted EBITDA. fascinating to see Colorado still number 1, Maryland, big driver there, number 2, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, and then operational highlights, fourth quarter, pause to read, financial highlights, and a little bit more. But ultimately, yeah, no Cannavestments feedback from them, and I know that's my lottery ticket, Columbia Care, but I'm all set. Got my tickets, taking the ride. TerrAscend reports fourth quarter and full year 2023 financial results. Full year 2023 record net revenue of $317.3 million, an increase of 28% year over year. Gross profit margin of 50.3%. Love to see that. And again, once 280E is gone, it'll help all of these companies significantly. Main thing for them is just try and clean up their balance sheets in the meantime. While wanted to point out, though, it's interesting as, all companies differ, but TerrAscend, market cap of 842 Canadian, so probably 700 something million USD. And they only manage 317 million in revenue. And so seems obviously they're more overvalued right now. And obviously I'm taking a higher risk with, say, Cannabist or Air. But to me, they just seem like the much smarter long-term investments. High risk, high reward if, we get 280E removed and all that, yada, yada, yada. But, so, long story short, from Cannavestments, softer Q4 showing from TerrAscend Corp after a strong year of growth and margin recovery as a cultivation issue in Maryland weighed on results. With a debt maturity upcoming, management looks towards continued growth in New Jersey and Maryland and new M&A to drive further growth and better cash flow. And so, more here on TerrAscend, if you'd like to pause to read. And then lastly, another bit on TerrAscend, so thank you connoisseurs.io for sharing this, as I think this came from the earnings call, but they will also stop paying 280E taxes and file amended tax returns for 2020, 2021, and 2022, similar to what we saw TrueLeaf do. And now everybody seems to want to follow Kim's lead, and so thank you, Kim, for turning that possibility into reality, as other MSOs now want to play catch-up, and it's just fascinating. Nothing seems priced in. And so with that, some more news though. Curaleaf International expands into Czech Republic with a Strasana Pharma partnership. Collaboration will increase access to medical cannabis in the Czech Republic. So more here if you wanted to pause to read whether you own shares in Curaleaf or you're interested in them as a company. While apparently Verano released their revised fourth quarter and full year 2023 financial results. And so I know I included what they released last week in my last week's video. This seems to be new from them though. Record revenue of $938 million, increased 2023 net cash provided by operating activities by 16% to $110 million, and generated $73 million in free cash flow for 2023, meeting guidance. So I'm not exactly sure what they corrected in this, but just sharing it because that came this week. Links are in the comments. And so with that, TLRY Medical receives approval for first medical cannabis extract in Portugal. Good for them. Not sure this is going to mean much, but following successful approval, they've now received approval for the first medical extract, making a significant milestone in medical cannabis availability and patient care within the country. And so seems like this landmark approval on March 11th, we'll see how landmark it is, but more here if you wanted to pause to read to learn about that, whether or not you own shares in TLRY or not. I do still own them, my only Canadian play left, because of course they do trade on the NASDAQ. Or maybe it's New York Stock Exchange, I can't remember offhand. But for Morningstar, cannabis stocks gain following rumors of imminent rescheduling. Well, the rumors seem to be set in stone, although take from everything what you will. I'm not trying to mislead anybody, just trying to present the facts as they come. But I don't think we could have ended Friday on a higher note, or greener note than we would have liked. So that's a main takeaway from all of this. And so, folks, as we round up this video, just wanted to share this recording live with Don Murphy to discuss the latest cannabis reform. This was yesterday, Friday night. I did not tune in. I plan to listen today, but this will be here for you. Link in the comments if you want to go through that. Well, last few ones. Trader Nick CFA, this is what we are playing for. And you gotta love, as time goes on, more and more random faces keep appearing. For example, 20 years trading experience, that's something worth considering, who see this opportunity for what it is and are expecting us to take off fairly soon, shortly, imminently, whatever adjective you want to use to describe it. And so take from that what you will, folks. Just wanted to share this image, though. Hopefully that's what we get in the coming weeks, just because, again, the stage is set, the writing's on the wall. Even better, imagine we get Florida safe in Schedule 3 in the same week in April. That would be pretty awesome, although I would rather have them spaced out, to be honest. Epic nonetheless, and so some feedback from everyone in the community. Just want to thank everybody that does share any information on Twitter, whether I've used you or shared you as a source in my video. Thank you for doing what you do so that I can do what I do. And I cannot wait to document the next 3 months per se, because if they don't happen in the next 3 months, we're all fucked and things are a lot worse than we could have imagined. But the stage is set for it all to happen. I've sent money into my TFSA account, the last bit that I can contribute this year, in hopes I can buy some cheap shares on Monday. Because yes, I'm going to try and take advantage, but then after that, I'm just going to buckle up and enjoy the ride, and I hope you all will as well. Who would have thought that 2024 cannabis would be the Hail Mary? Because they made the promise in 2020, they had the Senate and the House for however many years, did nothing. Now this promise is staring them in the face and coming back to serve Americans and everyone else around the world some justice that this plant has deserved for a very, very long time. And that is it for today's episode, folks. I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and I really hope you got some value out of it. What did you think of the stories mentioned? Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions, and I'd be happy to address them. But besides that, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. Subscribe below if you don't want to miss any future videos, and I will catch you next week for This Week in Cannabis News. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.